So can you explain to me what you're going to do, first of all?
Well, I'm asking the Sinn Fein organisation here in County Louth to nominate me as their candidate whenever this government comes round to calling a general election. And I'm doing that after a lot of consideration, only because of the crisis in the country, and particularly this part of the country. I met people this morning, I met people yesterday, in distress about the future, just totally and absolutely sickened and worried about what's coming at them. I look at a very bad government with very bad policies. I look at the other two main opposition parties which have bought entirely into those exact same policies. I believe with all my heart that we can work and build our way out of this situation and build a better society. I believe there's a better way forward. I believe there's an alternative way to do all of this. And I've called, for so long now on people to make a stand. I just don't think I have any choice. But for me to shut up or put up, and I'm putting up, I'm making a stand and asking people to come in and support what we're trying to do.
How about the mechanics of it? Are you going to resign your Assembly seat, and are you going to resign your Westminster seat?
Well, I'm going to resign my Assembly seat, and let me say it's a big wrench, because I love West Belfast. It's where I'm from, it's where my wife and family are, it's where my home is. It's a community which has shown huge loyalty to me. But as soon as the party can choose a replacement, I'm going to resign the Assembly seat as an indication of the seriousness of my intent, and I will continue as the MP until the Taoiseach calls a general election. But my focus will be on the ongoing peace process, which still needs a lot of attention, will be to work in partnership with Martin McGuinness, but will also to work with our team here in showing that there's a better way forward, that there's a sounder, fairer way.
But when you say, just on that Westminster thing, when you say I'm going to remain as a Westminster MP until the Taoiseach calls an election, will you resign your Westminster seat then too?
Oh, absolutely. And I don't take the electorate for granted. I'm moving out of probably the safest Sinn Fein seat on the planet. And I don't know whether the people of Louth want me to represent them or not. I can only go and ask them if the party nominate me as their candidate. And what I can say is, if this wee county does accept me as a representative, then they'll be standing up for themselves and standing up for Ireland and standing up for all of Ireland. And I can't do that job on behalf of the people of Louth and still represent the people of West Belfast, so I will give up both seats in West Belfast.
Do you accept that this is a very, very significant gamble, and that it could backfire, that you could lose in Louth at a time when you've walked away from Northern Ireland?
Well, I haven't walked away from the North. I mean, I have put so much with others, and not just Sinn Fein, but just speaking for Sinn Fein, with Martin McGuinness and other colleagues. We're not going to walk away from this peace process. There are outstanding issues to be resolved. You know more than most that when the media is away from it, all the sort of micro and visible under the radar work that we're involved in with all sorts of other people to solidify and sustain and build. And there's also aspects of the Good Friday Agreement which have yet to be delivered on. So, there's a need for a continuing focus, and I intend to keep that focus. But look, the crisis here is just so diabolical that a person in political leadership, any citizen, but a person particularly in political leadership, who doesn't recognise that you have to make a stand. Okay, it's a gamble, but this is bigger than me. This is about the future of this island. There's also a better way to do it.
But do you accept that up to now, south of the border, Sinn Fein, you're peripheral, you're bit players, no more than that, 4 seats in the Dail. Even if you win 3 or 4 more, you're going to remain bit players.
Well, we're not. And secondly, I've always said to people, don't judge Sinn Fein by how many seats we have. We want to have as many seats as possible, of course we do. And we have a very, very good Dail team led by Queebeen O'Quail, and we have a very, very good spread of representatives right throughout this state. But I've always said, because others have tons of representatives, judge Sinn Fein by the changes that we have brought about. That's how you judge a party like us. Look at what we've done in the North with others. Look at what we're capable of doing with support here, and people of a like mind coming in to form an alternative, a better way forward to what the government is proposing.
But what happens if you're squeezed in Dáil Éireann? What happens if you remain in very small numbers? What happens, for instance, if you don't get elected? Is that the end of you?
Well, first of all, I don't take the electorate for granted, but neither do I contemplate defeat. At the height of conflict, and you know this, when it looked as if nothing constructive was possible, we continued with hope and optimism based upon our will and on our determination and upon our leadership. I want to come back to this issue, if I can, just about a better way forward. See, there's a lot of cynicism about politicians at the moment, quite justifiable given, all the revelations about corruption and the mess that the country is now in. A way of restoring some hope isn't just through rhetoric, but is by example. So we propose that all ministers take a cut of 40%, that all TDs take a cut of 20%, that all of those at the top of the public service have their salaries capped at 100,000. And just by bringing in those measures, you will save 300 million. Now, wouldn't you be cynical if you were on 200 euros a week, if you've just joined 450,000 people on the dole queues, and you hear the politicians telling you, let's put up with the pain, let's tighten our belts, when the politicians aren't setting an example. 1% of the populace here controls 20% of the wealth. We've proposed a wealth tax, even temporarily, of 1%. But we've also proposed, because we know the deficit has to be cut, we've proposed measures which will cut the deficit in a reasonable time frame between now and 2016 by stimulating the economy, by cutting wastage, by bringing in new tax measures, but particularly by providing and retaining jobs. And the government has bought into this just absolutely dreadful policy of trying to do all of this by 2014 and by taking too much money out of all the wrong places in too short a term. And further, when I listen to the debate and the discourse, what's missing from all the accountancy arguments going back and forth isn't just that they're stealing money from old age pensioners or from the health services to put into NAMA or put into the banks. That between 35 billion and 50 billion, which is coming at us to pick up the NAMA bill, isn't even being factored into what this government is doing. They've called it wrong in every single count, and we believe we have a better way of doing this and a better way of going forward.
But that question, you personally, 62, big political gamble. If you were not elected, that obviously is your political career over.
Well, if I'm not elected, because this is bigger than me, I mean, how could someone like me, who has been involved in struggle all my life, who sees the crisis, who meets people who are in crisis, but also who has a hope and a certainty and a conviction that we can sort this out, how could I not take the risk? How could I stand back and not come forward and say to people, this is a way to sort these matters out? It will be my duty. If I lose, well then we'll deal with that when we come to that. But at the moment, we're about trying to show leadership, trying to come forward with rational, practical, common sense policies. And the Irish people are no mean people. We have gone through a huge amount. And the tradition I come from, it's from Wolfe Tone to Bobby Sands. All risk takers, all with a huge belief in the goodness of people and the decency of people and helping neighbours and social solidarity and in the right of our people to be free and independent and to have a decent, fair society.